Here we are. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I can see so many of you already are here saying hello in the comments. Well, what a fantastic time to be together. We are in the middle of summer. The weather has cooled down a little bit, so we have some relief from those crazy heat waves that we had over here in Europe. I do hope everyone's well. We're closing in on the end of the week, which is exciting for most of us. If you have a weekend off, some people obviously work at the weekend, so that's maybe not so good. But I'm really happy to be here and very excited about being able to spend some time with you, answer your questions, and just have fun. So let me just make sure everything is in order. Please let me know where in the world you are watching from, and I'll give you a shout out. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to post them more towards the end of the session. But what I'm going to do is work through the questions that have already been posed. So I put a post on Instagram and a post on the community here on YouTube. So if you posed a question, I have most of them collated in a list that I'm going to answer. And then at the end of this session, if we have time, I'll open it up to any additional questions that you may have. But otherwise, let's just have fun together, have a nice time. So I'm just going to get up this live on screen so I can see everything that's going on. Right, okay, fantastic. So, brilliant. Okay, yes, can I see everything? Yeah, let me put that on mute. What I need is a technician to run the back end of everything that I'm doing, and then I don't get so distracted. Okay, so today is Thursday. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK, and we have some mild weather, which is always good for me. And okay, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to go, ready to rock and roll. All right, so I got Asan from Pakistan. I've got Elvis in Peru. I have so many people. Hosme from Spain. I've got who else? Okay, got people in the UK as well. So many people in the UK. That's fantastic. Amazing. I've got Stacey here from South Korea. I've got Noor here from Syria. Brilliant. Raphael, hello. Eamon, hello. Ziggy, hello. Nishanta, hi. How are you doing? Omar, brilliant. Right, let's get this show on the road. So I will start with the very first question that I was given. Let me scroll up this long list. Okay, so Good Boy asked me this question, if I can get it here, and then I can bring it up on screen. If it'll come up fast enough. There we go. Do native speakers use a wide range of vocabulary? So we need an in there, a wide range of vocabulary, or do they repeat the same vocabulary over and over again? It really depends on the individual. Many of us will have our go-to words. Your go-to words, or anything that's go-to, is kind of your default. So your go-to restaurant would be the restaurant that you default to. If someone says, quick, name a restaurant, the best restaurant in town, then you'd instantly think of your default, where you always go or regularly go. So most natives will have their go-to words. I'm sure in your own language you have go-to words, maybe you have go-to adjectives that you use over and over again. But that doesn't mean that you don't have a wide vocabulary. On average, native English speakers will have about 20,000 active words and maybe about 40,000 passive. So there's lots of words that I know, but I don't necessarily use. If I hear them, I understand them, but I wouldn't default to those words. I'd probably use something else. Okay. Yeah, so that answers that question, I hope. Okay, so the next one is from Fabrice. You asked, let me put it on for everyone to see. You asked, what is my favorite word, or what are my favorite words? Where is it? And you spelt favorite in the American way, which is absolutely fine. It's just a good point to bring up for those of you who would prefer to know the British spellings. Favorite in British English has a U in it. Favorite. Okay, so can you tell us your favorite words in English? I will tell you one of my favorite words is discombobulated. Discombobulated. This means to be confused, or I think of disorientated, for example. If you are discombobulated, then you're sometimes I might feel a bit discombobulated. So it's that sense of not really knowing what's going on, you're confused. And maybe if you're woken up suddenly in the early hours of the morning, unexpectedly, something wakes you up, you might suddenly feel a bit discombobulated. What's going on? Where am I? What was that noise? Who are you? Discombobulated. I like the word simply because I love the way it feels in my mouth. Discombobulated. I like words that really get my mouth moving. Maybe because I'm a pronunciation coach and I just love articulation, but it's just such a fun word to say. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. Hi, English. That's very kind of you. You've made a donation of €4. Thank you. And you've asked, can you play chess or drafts, which is also known as checkers? Yes, I can. That's a great question. When I was little, I taught myself how to play chess by reading a book. I don't know what possessed me to start reading a book about chess. I think I was about 7 years old, but I just decided I wanted to do it. And I joined the chess club at school and started competing at chess. I'm not the best player in the world, but I do enjoy a little game of chess every now and again. There was a series on, was it called The Queen's Gambit? There was a series about a chess player, a Russian chess player. It was very good. I think it was called The Queen's Gambit. If anyone knows of the series I'm talking about, please do pop it into the chat. And drafts, I used to play it as a child, but I can't really remember. I know it's an easier game than chess, but I can't remember how to set it up or play it now. So yeah, great games. I really enjoy games. I'm quite a competitive person. Okay, so the next question. Oh, sorry, favorite word. So discombobulated, and the other one I would say is sunshine. Sunshine. I like the idea, the sense of sunshine. To me, sunshine represents lots of things. Now, you can use sunshine as a term of endearment. So you might hear someone saying, "Hey, sunshine." Yeah, sunshine. Guys, let me know your favorite words in the comments. Write favorite word and then tell me your favorite English word. Okay, yes, it was The Queen's Gambit was the name of the show. So if I can't remember, I think it was on iPlayer or maybe Netflix. But if you are in the UK, you can access BBC iPlayer and try and find that series. If it was on Netflix, then many more people around the world can access Netflix. Okay, fantastic. So next question. This is from Kerry's music. I'm going to pop it up here so everyone can see it. You said, "Hi, I'd love to know what Brits would think of me depending on if I use an older or more modern vocabulary, and which of these would be best to use at a British university, for example, Oxford or Cambridge." Okay, so there's a couple of things to unpack here. First of all, I think it's important when you're using a second language not to worry too much about what other people think of you. Many people put too much importance on the opinions of others. What's important is how you feel about yourself, and the fact that you are functioning in another language is something to be proud of, and many learners forget that. So try not to worry so much about what others may or may not think, because you are being true to yourself. You're doing something spectacular. Their opinions shouldn't matter. However, let me help to answer your question. Should you be using an older or more modern vocabulary? Whatever type of vocabulary you use, it should be suitable to your environment. So if you are in a highly academic environment, like in Oxford or Cambridge, then take your cues from that setting. When you're in a lecture theatre, or with your teachers at Oxford or Cambridge, listen to the language they use and use that language in return. It's always the best way to help you fit in, is to just listen to the language being used in that context and in that situation. Okay. Fantastic. All right. So some amazing words coming through here that I've just seen out of the corner of my eye. Let's see if I can bring any up on screen. What is this one? Edgar. I like pneumonal tram microscopic scolicalvokeniosis, something like that, because it's long. Yes. Many people ask me to pronounce anti-disestablishmentarianism because it's long. But it's not really a very useful word. But I'm glad you like that. I'm assuming that's a medical word. And thank you for sharing that with me. Any other favorite words that I can see? Oh, there's a lot of comments here. I can't see any. All right, I'm going to move on. Barbara asked, have you ever been to our country, the Czech Republic? Unfortunately not. I've been to many countries, but not the Czech Republic. How many languages, and which languages do you speak? Again, from Barbara. So I've started learning a number of languages. I've at one point knew Croatian. That was lightly conversational in Croatian. I, as a youngster, was learning a little Japanese. I have been on and off learning German, Spanish, French, Italian. And that's it, really. However, I have a very, very busy schedule. And unfortunately, like with all skills that I take on, when you neglect those skills, they diminish. So at one point, I was a relatively good piano player. My piano skills are terrible now. At one point, I was a very good gymnast. I'm a terrible gymnast now. At one point, I was an excellent squash player. Now my squash is quite rusty. So, like with all skills, language, if you do not practice it, is lost very quickly. So, when I have time in the future, I definitely intend to work my way up to fluency in a language. I'd also like to live abroad in the future. So, that would give me the perfect opportunity to hit that goal. BRS, I'm not sure who you are, but you've asked if I can pronounce can and can't. Can and can't. So can, British English, short a, can. and can't. Big long vowel for can't, very different. Can't. British English, at least the RP, which is the standard you'd find in the dictionary, is different to American English and to some northern regional dialects or regional accents in the UK. So in some parts of the UK and in America, you generally hear a short vowel for can't. But yes. Okay. Oh, hi, English. You've sent another donation. Did you send a question with that one, or was that just a donation? Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. I really do appreciate it. Oh, no, you just sent a donation. Thank you. That's very, very sweet. Okay, so that's can and can't for you. Oh, this is a good question from Sheldon Ray Bird. Sheldon Ray Bird. You asked, what's your favorite kind of music and how can music play a part in language learning? My favorite kind of music, I have an eclectic taste in music. Eclectic, that's a nice word. That's probably a favorite of mine, eclectic. Eclectic means well-rounded. I like lots of different things. And yes, I'm into musical theatre. I'm into rock music. I'm into a little classical music, pop music, lots of different types of music. I'm not really into heavy metal. It's probably the one thing I'd say I'm not into. Okay, hi English, because you've been so kind with your donations, I'm going to bring up your message here. You said, what do you think is more important, self-discipline or motivation? And where do you take inspiration from? P.S. Anna, you are a superstar. Oh, thank you so much. I never know how to take compliments. So it makes me blush. Thank you. That's very kind. What's more important, self-discipline or motivation? I would say they have to be equally important, because if you're trying to achieve, let's say we're talking about language learning, if you're trying to achieve fluency in a language, without discipline, you're going to struggle to get to your goal. So you have to have self-discipline. Without motivation, even if you're disciplined, without the motivation, you're not going to have the kind of passion to really do what you need to do. So I think they're both equally important. Where do I take inspiration from? As a language teacher, I take inspiration from many different places. Primarily, I actually take my inspiration from my students. So in my private community, which is for my course students, we're in touch all the time. We have our community where people drop posts, where people privately message me. We have a Telegram group. And so I'm in communication with my students regularly. And so I see their pain points. I see the things they're interested in. I see the mistakes that they make. And I think, oh, that would be a good teaching point. Or, oh, that's an interesting thing that we just spoke about. I'll use that in a future lesson because other people might find that interesting. So in answer to your question, my students are my biggest inspiration. And then outside of that, I guess just general culture. My children inspire me quite a lot. My children, as they're learning language from scratch, I find that quite inspiring to see what they do and how they do it. Thank you for that question. Okay, next question is... do you... Okay, so there's one here from Katarina who asked, who's your favorite English writer? I find that one hard to answer. The first thing that comes to mind is Shakespeare. So I'll say William Shakespeare. Okay, and the next question is from Ziggy. You asked, do you still struggle learning German? And what is your favorite film genre? Okay, so my German language learning is on hold at the moment, though I still follow German teachers on Instagram and things, and occasionally will sit in and watch one of their lessons. But I'm not actively learning any language at the moment because I just have too much on my plate. To have too much on your plate means you are too busy to take on anything extra. You're at capacity. You're full. Okay. So the second question, what's your favorite film genre? I love anything that moves me. So if it makes me laugh, if it makes me cry, if it frightens me or shocks me, then I like that. I like to be moved. I don't like passive films. I think generally at the moment, because everything is so dark and serious, there's so much to be upset about in the world, that a bit of escapism is definitely my go-to film genre. So a little bit of inspiring kind of films. I guess rom-com, so romantic comedies. I quite like anything funny, really, or anything inspirational. Like I watched something with Adam Sandler the other day, who it might have been based on a true story. I can't remember the name of the film, but it was about a basketball coach who spotted a young player in Mexico and brought him to the NFL. Is that right? The NFL? The NBA? No, the NBA, the National Basketball Association. So he made him an NBA player, but took him from obscurity. So he just picked him out from playing on the street. He was like, "You're a superstar," and he fought hard to make him a superstar. It was a really nice film. It was inspirational, quite easy to watch. Nickname, Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, that's a good film. Nice and funny. Okay, so it's called Hustle. That's it, Hustle. The film is Hustle. A nice, easy film to watch. Made me smile. Made me, for a moment, forget about some of the awful things going on in the world. Okay, so I'm seeing some great questions coming through here on the chat. Save them for the end, guys, and I will, if I've got time, jump on those. So this was a big comment. I'm going to read it out. This was from Raphael. I know you're watching. Hi, Raphael. Keeping in mind the importance of reading as a mechanism for learning new things and enlarging our vocabulary, amongst other things, I'd like you to recommend 3 English books. And then you say it could be on anything, and that can help to not only enrich our vocabulary, but to teach us something significant and useful about life. Okay, so I'm going to keep your message short because it was a very long message. So you've asked me for some book recommendations. Okay, the first one I'm going to recommend is a book called Atomic Habits. I'm going to put it up on screen here for you. Atomic Habits. Now, I'm going to read to you the what it says about this book. So, transform your life with tiny changes in behavior starting now. People think that when you want to change your life, you need to think big. But world-renowned habits expert James Clear has discovered another way. He knows that real change comes from the compound effect of hundreds of small decisions: doing 2 push-ups a day, waking up 5 minutes earlier, or holding a single short phone call. He calls them atomic habits. In this groundbreaking book, Clears, that's his name, surname Clears, reveals exactly how these minuscule is another word for very small, minuscule changes can grow into such life-altering outcomes. He uncovers a handful of simple life hacks, the forgotten art of habit stacking, the unexpected power of the 2-minute rule, or the trick of entering the Goldilocks zone. And he delves into cutting-edge psychology and neuroscience to explain why they matter. Along the way, he tells inspiring stories of Olympic gold medalists, leading CEOs, and distinguished scientists who have used the science of tiny habits to stay productive, motivated, and happy. Okay, so Atomic Habits, it's an award-winning book. This is the kind of thing I enjoy reading. I say reading. I'm a busy woman. I actually use Audible as my main source of reading these days. So my general routine is a couple of mornings a week, 2 or 3 mornings a week. I will start the day by doing some emails and looking at what's ahead for that day, preparing anything I need to prepare. Then I go to the gym. Now, the gym is about 15-20 minutes away from me, so I have to drive. So in the car, I put on my headphones and I start listening to a book on Audible. I will listen to all the way through my workout and all the way home. So it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours if I'm doing a good workout. And so that means I get an hour and a half, 2 hours reading, maybe 3 times a week, which is brilliant. And these are the kinds of books I like to read or listen to. It helps me to change my life for the better. I'm all about being happy and healthy and assessing my life, assessing my own behavior, assessing how I feel, how I think, trying to open my mind to new ideas in psychology, new health discoveries. I'm all open to it. So yeah, there we go. Guys, you can get a free Audible. If you do an Audible trial, which is a 30-day trial, you can get a free Audible. I've put a link. If you're watching on my main YouTube channel, there's a link in the description to an Audible trial. And you can download a book for free. So if you're into life-changing things, then I highly recommend this one. Another one which is about health specifically, I would recommend is Lifespan by David Sinclair. And it's all about why we age, so understanding aging and why we don't have to. So he talks about why we age and all the diseases and the negative things that are related to aging and how to counteract them, why we don't have to age in the way that we normally do, how we can stay healthy for longer and potentially extend our life. So I highly recommend it. I think it's brilliant. I've read it a couple of times and I follow everything David Sinclair does on social media as well. So highly recommend that one. They're both are available on Audible. Oh, hi, English. You are so generous today. Thank you so much. You said, my wife thinks that watching films is a waste of time. However, reading books is rewarding. What do you think? Why do people watch films? So reading books is rewarding. And I often find if I read a book that has been made into a film, if I read the book first and then watch the film, I'm normally disappointed with the film. But it's not the same the other way around. If I watch a film and then read the book, then I usually still love the book. The thing is with reading books is you use your own imagination. So you create the world and it's so much more thorough. You spend maybe a whole week in the world reading a book, whereas a film is an hour and a half, couple of hours. So you're not as invested and you make such an effort when reading a book as well. You put so much time into it. So you really feel like you own this story. You're invested, you're on the journey. Whereas watching, you can be quite passive, looking at your phone, maybe having a chat, getting a cup of tea. You know, it's very different experience. I think both have merit. I think, you know, films can transport us and be very visually amazing. Books rely solely on your mind and your imagination. I think both can be wonderful. You know, it's all storytelling, just different forms. And storytelling is, you know, something that man has done from the very beginning. Okay, so Raphael, you also asked, let me bring this up on screen. Which way of speaking is more convenient for a person who is barely trying to become fluent in English? By speaking using as many words as we know, though it might seem too wordy. You wouldn't say too much wordiness, just too wordy. Or by speaking succinctly. Short answer, just get to the point. Whenever you're communicating in English, don't beat around the bush. be direct, or as direct as you should be in polite company. Obviously, the British people don't like to be too direct, but don't use vocabulary that's unnecessary. Try and be more direct. However, if you are trying to introduce more vocabulary into your toolbox, if you want to have a bigger vocabulary and you're trying to use new words, swap words, or do try and slot them in, but don't be too flamboyant with your language. Don't over egg the pudding is a phrase that we use. Don't over egg the pudding. Don't do too much, because everyone's very busy and short on time, and if you talk too much around a subject, it might bore people. And with that, I'm going to move on. Fabrice asks about a movie. Have you seen the movie Don't Look Up? And that was with Leonardo DiCaprio. Did you like it? Yes, I have seen it, and yes, I did like it. But to be fair, I'm a huge Leo fan, so I pretty much like everything he does. It was quite scary, though. I felt like it was, I don't know, quite close to reality. I think it was made to make a statement. What did it inspire to you? So I'm quite environmentally aware. I'm nervous about the environment, and I'm quite conscientious when it comes to the environment. So I make changes in my own life as much as I can to be as environmentally friendly as possible and to not waste things. Yes, films like that just continue to reinforce what I already do, which is just try to be conscientious and aware of the impact I have on the planet. What does this film say about the current state of the world, especially in Western countries? And what do you think of, and then the message jumped over to another, what do you think of guys like Elon Musk and Bezos and the terrible transhumanist world that profiles? So the current state of the world, especially in Western countries, I think if you listen solely to the news, then it's easy to be very negative about the state of the West. I am concerned about people's attitudes in the West sometimes. This kind of, if I can't see it, I don't care about it attitude. This kind of, I don't buy cheap, throw it away kind of attitude. But that's what we can take from the news, and that's a handful of people. There are also some amazing things happening. There's amazing innovation. There's new discoveries, new technologies coming out all the time. And there's lots of people who are very conscientious, who are trying to make the world a better place, who are doing their best. And, I think we only see the bad because that's what the news and social media kind of pushes up. So I like to think there's a good balance in the world, but maybe we just see too much of the negative. But yes, we are very much in a, what's the word? Explosive time at the moment, a very divisive and divided time. Maybe it's something I'm more aware of because I watch the news more than I ever have done before. Maybe the world has always been a bit of a mess, and it's only now I'm aware of it. Anyway, we've got nearly 500 people watching. Have we? Yes? Oh, no, 500 responses. I don't know what that number means. I've got to 500 here, and I don't know what that means. Maybe it's just likes and hearts. Okay, so the next question is, Fabrice, you asked if I like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, or what British rock heroes do I like? I'm not, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd are a bit before my time. My mum was into those musicians. For me, rock heroes, it's got to be Freddie Mercury. I love Queen. In fact, my son Jacob has just now become obsessed with the song We Are the Champions. And he constantly asks, Alexa, I've got one in here, so I can't say it loud. He constantly asks her to play We Are the Champions, and he sings along. It's brilliant. Okay, here's a good one from Raphael. Let's bring this one up. You said, hello, teacher Anna. Hello. I would like to know what is the difference between an idiom and a proverb. My question is because I've seen plenty of English tutorials in which even native speakers mix them up. I mean, some teachers treat proverbs as idioms and vice versa. Yes, and I have to say, in the past, I think I've been guilty of that as well. The thing is, proverbs are idiomatic language. So there's a few things that fall under idiomatic language, and proverbs are one of them. So the basic difference between a proverb and an idiom is that a proverb is like a lesson. It's a little lesson, and it's a sentence that can work alone. For example, birds of a feather flock together. That's a proverb. It's a little lesson to say that people who are similar to one another stick together. So birds of a feather flock together. So if you had 100 people in a room and you had 10 people from maybe all from different countries, but 10 people from Spain, 10 people from Mexico, 10 people from Russia, 10 people from the Netherlands, 10 people from Egypt, and so on, then you might find that all those people or all those pockets of people find each other and become little groups because birds of a feather flock together. We tend to pull towards people who are similar to us. Okay. That is a proverb. It's not easy to put a proverb into a sentence. It usually stands alone as a sentence. An idiom, on the other hand, doesn't stand alone as a sentence. It's a phrase that has to be put into a sentence. For example, under the weather. If I say under the weather, it doesn't tell me anything. It means poorly, ill, unwell, sick. But I have to use it in a sentence. I am feeling under the weather. My son is a little bit under the weather today. So an idiom sits into a sentence. A proverb is a lesson that stands alone. I hope that helps. Okay. All right, here we go. Anisiobi, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Anisiobi, you said, what can I do to make improve? That's improvements, or what can I do to improve? So remove make. Let's just make it easy. What can I do to improve in my English? We just say, what can I do to improve my English? And be courageous when speaking with people. Okay, so I assume that you're feeling nervous when you're talking to people. So what can you do to improve that situation? Firstly, I'd say consider your point of view on speaking in English. Consider what's the worst thing that could happen. What is the worst thing that would happen if you spoke to someone and they didn't understand you? So that's probably the worst thing, right? You open your mouth, you try to speak English, they don't understand you. So maybe you have to resort to using gestures, writing things down. And actually, most people now Google Translator. Is that really that bad? No, not really. Maybe you don't have a smartphone on you and Google Translate is not possible. Maybe you try to gesture and they don't understand you. So the worst thing that's going to happen is the conversation stops. Is that the end of the world? No. So when you realize that the risks of failure are actually not something to fear, then that hopefully will help you to be a bit more courageous. When I was doing gymnastics, there were certain things that I was scared of doing because the risks were great. So, for example, doing a backflip off the beam, the risk was that I would misjudge it, misalign it, and I would hit my head, kill myself. That was the worst thing that could happen. And so I was always nervous doing that. I wasn't nervous doing the backward somersaults when I had someone there to spot me, and that means they were watching, ready to help to flip me around if I was too short on it. The worst thing that could happen in that situation was that I'd land on my bum or I'd land on my back, but I wasn't going to hurt myself because it was a soft gym, it was a sprung floor, and someone was spotting me. So the worst thing that would happen is that I'd land on my bum and it would be embarrassing. Okay. So knowing that the risks are not that bad helped me to be more, why can't I say this word today? Courageous in taking that risk. Okay. So consider the risk, and then you have to practice lots. Okay. Oh my gosh. Hi, English. You are being incredibly generous. Thank you so much. You've asked me another question. You said, you devote all your time and energy to us, your students. I wonder, do you have lazy days when you don't do anything, nothing at all? Lazy day? What's a lazy day? I have days where I only focus on my children. So I tend not to work on Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays. Those are my days with my kids. However, there are some Sundays that I work because I provide lessons to my course and club students on a Sunday. One Sunday a month, we do a Zoom call. But apart from that, these are the days I spend with my children. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So absolutely, there is no sitting down and being lazy involved. It's always up and out and running around. And yeah, it's a bit crazy. I'm not very good at relaxing. I spend virtually every evening up working past bedtime. I have to peel myself away from my laptop because I've always got more work to do and I've never got enough hours in the day. So I'm normally very tired. And even when I'm with my children on those days where I'm not working, I tend to be thinking about work or making short content. You might see me making shorts with Jacob, which I put on TikTok and Instagram and my shorts channel. Yeah, so no, not really. Maybe when I'm older, I might allow myself some lazy days. Okay, the next question is 2 questions here from, I think it's Mohammed. You just got MD as your name, MD Hassan. You said, can we use the expressions which are used by native speakers in academic usage, like in our examinations? Another question is, how can we write like a native? So first question, can you use native speaker expressions in academic situations like exams? It very much depends on the exam you're taking and what you mean by expressions. For example, if you're taking the IELTS exam, slang is probably not going to be acceptable in an IELTS exam. However, idioms, kind of general expressions that are used by natives, absolutely. You are encouraged to use idiomatic language in order to get a good grade. Okay, so it depends on the situation. Oh, lost my I don't know why I've got my earphone in, to be honest. Yeah, it depends on the exam. You would need to check with your exam board or with your teacher who's putting you through that exam to know what type of language is acceptable and what's not. Okay. How can you write like a native? I always say use input as a way to inform output. So how to write like a native speaker is a big, very general question. But if that's what you want to achieve, it depends on what you mean by write. Are you talking about emails? Are you talking about writing academic essays? Are you talking about writing a novel? Or just general kind of chat for forums and social media? But use the input. So read the input that you want to emulate. If it's academic essays, read lots of academic essays. By reading, it will help to inform how you should write, the style you should adopt. Okay? Fantastic. I hope that helps you. Right, I'm going to have a little sip of my tea now. Fabrice, you asked about poetry. Very quick answer is I love poems by A.A. Milne and Roald Dahl. I think they're very witty. They're not childish, but they are kind of aimed towards children. But I love that humor. I love that innocent, imaginative humor that comes along with it. And also A.A. Milne poetry has a soft spot. I have a soft spot for A.A. Milne poems because my grandma, who has passed away now, I do have a picture of her somewhere. Actually, my grandma drew this. My grandma was a wonderful artist, and she did this of me. That's me with one of our rotties when I was a little girl. And then my grandma drew that. But she loved A.A. Milne poetry, and she always shared it with us. And so it has a special place in my heart. Okay. So this question from Jaskarat, you said, whenever I'm listening to any conversation, often I'm unable to understand whether the words that are being used are formal or informal. I wouldn't worry too much about whether or not they're formal or informal. If you need to know, take the context as a cue. So if you are at work, in a meeting at the bank, you're speaking to your lecturer, those are probably going to be more formal words that are being used. If you're at work, but you're in the staff room and having a chit chat or a water cooler chat, as it's sometimes called, with your colleagues, and they're relaxed and they're having a laugh, it's probably informal. Okay, so always use context as a cue. Someone, what's your name? Madivalapa. You asked if I could tell you something about British culture, British people. And then you asked, do British people leave their young children? Hang on, let me share this. This is an interesting question. I'm always interested in stereotypes or what people think about other people. Now, everyone says stereotypes are bad, and usually, they can be. But I always find it interesting. There's usually a root to every stereotype. And I'm always fascinated to know what people think about British people. British people leave their young children free. So you don't need a to there. Leave their young children free to earn their own money to service. I'm not sure what that means. Is it true after 18, 20-year-olds? So okay, let me just answer the question. Yes, once you are 16 years old in the UK, you can get a job and earn money. At 18, you're considered a fully fledged adult, and you can, I moved out of my mum's house when I was 16. At 18, I was paying rent. I had a job. I was a full-time student, but I had a job and I was paying rent and I had my own car. And yes, I was free to do my own thing. So yes, from 16 years old, people can get jobs and earn their own money. I think they can have a bank account at 16, maybe just a savings account. But yes. Okay. I hope that helps. What's this question? Madi from Kurdistan, you asked if I teach one-to-one. Not directly. I get this question a lot. Do I teach privately one-to-one? No, but in my community, so every month, if you're a community member or course member, every month they do a Zoom call and anyone can join. So it's usually a group, but we tend to have, I don't know, a small handful of people in there, and people can ask me questions in advance and talk to me. I usually spend time chatting to each person face to face. So that's a chance to connect. We have WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, Telegram groups, a Telegram group, so people can ask me questions anytime. And I do assessments. So anyone who wants pronunciation help, I do assessments, personal assessments, but again, that's remotely. It's not a lesson as such. It's just providing very clear, detailed guidance on an individual's pronunciation. Was there any? Oh, and if people are on the pronunciation course, once a month or so, we do a live stream that's specifically a pronunciation workshop for those students, and I invite a student on to kind of be my guinea pig. So I do like a one-to-one coaching session with a student. It's just watched by other students. So it's like a public private session, and that's all inclusive. It's part of the package. No extra is paid. That's part of being on the pronunciation course. Anyone who wants to be a guest on that just needs to say, I'm on the pronunciation course and I'd like to join. So that's as much as I do in terms of private teaching. Okay. Here's an interesting one. What's the difference between looking in and looking at? So this struck me as a little odd because we don't just say looking in. It's usually a 3-part phrasal verb. So you're normally looking in on someone, or you're looking into something. Obviously, it depends what you're talking about. So if you're looking in on someone, it means you're checking them. So for example, every night I put the children to bed. I come downstairs, I sit on my laptop and I work until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then when I can't keep my eyes open anymore, I say, let's go to bed. I go upstairs and I look in on my children. So I go into Jacob's room. I look in on him. Is he okay? Is he still breathing? Yes. Does he have his blanket on him? Yes, he's fine. I look in on Caspian. Is Caspian okay? Is he still breathing? Yes. Okay, now I can relax and go to bed. And in the night, if I wake up, usually I'm surprised that it's me that's woken up and not the children that have woken me up. So I say, are the children okay? I better look in on them. So it's to check on someone or someone's well-being. If you look into something, it's more about investigating. Usually you use this when there's a problem. If someone emails me and says, Anna, I can't access the community today for some reason, I'll say, oh, well, that shouldn't be happening. I'll look into it for you. And then I'll find out what's going on and I'll sort it out. And I'll say, hi, I looked into the problem for you. Everything is solved. Your access has been restored. So to look into something is to investigate in the hopes of solving something. To look in on someone is to check on them to make sure they're okay. Okay, but to look at is literally just spending time looking at something. If someone sends me an email with a proposal to work together, which I get a lot, and maybe they send me 5 emails, which I get a lot, saying, did you see my email? Did you see my email? Then by the 5th email, I might go, oh, hello. Yes, I received your first email, but I've been so busy. I do apologize. I will look at it at some point later in the week. So I will give it time and look at it. Okay, I hope that helps. All right. Here's a good question. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with me for so long. I feel like I've been talking a bit too much. Okay, so this is split over 2 comments, but it says, and this is from Fadavs. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. You said, How to learn to speak English in an environment where English is not the native language and not spoken at all, but only taught at schools, institutes, and language centers. When I start speaking English, I feel embarrassed and uncomfortable speaking it because I'm surrounded by Uzbek and Chadic. Is that how I pronounce that? Tajik speakers? Apologies if I've got that wrong. Are there any tips? Okay, so if you are in a position where you don't feel comfortable speaking English, you have no input apart from the institutes that you talk of, then we have this wonderful resource online. You know, we have the internet and so many opportunities to connect with people. So my biggest recommendation is to find a community or a language partner in which to spend time speaking in English. And you know, this is why the internet is so transformational for learners, for everyone. If you have access to the internet, then you can achieve so many things, even if you feel like, you know, you're in a situation where you don't have the opportunity. So find a community, come and check out our community. It's very affordable. If you're very motivated, then it's a wonderful community to be involved with. Lots of speaking practice and lots of passionate English learners. Okay, so the next question is from Rosie, Miss Rosie. I just remembered I have another question. Don't apologize for asking questions. I lately found people using the word them, like in I like them shoes or spread them legs. What does them mean and how to use it? Firstly, I thought they typed incorrectly. It is grammatically incorrect. I like them shoes is wrong. But you will hear native speakers using them instead of those regularly. It depends where you are, who's speaking, but some people just make that grammatical error as part of how they speak. So don't copy it. If you can help it, try not to do that. But just understand that what they mean is those. Okay. Next question. Sarah asked how to improve your writing. Two things. Read. Use input to inform output. So read as much as you can, and then obviously practice writing. So create opportunities in which you have to write on a daily basis by joining a community. Ideally, you want to be somewhere where you can get feedback on your writing. So if you are making mistakes, someone's there to say, hey, there's a little error there. In our community, we make every effort to correct all the writing that's posted. We can't guarantee that we'll get every single post, but we do our best, because I think that feedback is really important. And yeah, read lots, write lots, try to get feedback. A very general question. How can I learn English? Okay, so how to learn English. The first thing is you need a plan. You need a plan. You can't really make significant gains, so you can't progress significantly if you are just discombobulated all over the place. You can't just be random in your learning. You have to have a plan. You have to have a set routine. You need to find good resources, and you need to cover all the skills. So in the first instance, in the beginning, you need to have an idea of some basic grammar. I'm not a big fan of learning grammar, but you need to have an idea of grammar. When you're kind of like upper elementary going into intermediate, you need to start really getting an understanding of the grammar. But you need to be working on your listening, your speaking from the beginning, your reading, your writing. So have a plan, work out how you're going to cover all of those skills, and then be disciplined and execute. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, Pablo, you talked about the heat wave that we had here in the UK. Oh, we aren't set up for heat in here in the UK. We had so many problems. People were dying, roads were melting, trains had to stop. We just don't have the infrastructure that's built to deal with extreme heat or prolonged periods of heat. So I think changes are about to come in to start to help us to deal with heat in the future, because heat waves are going to become the norm. Unfortunately, our green pastures that the UK is known for are now mostly brown. It's really disappointing. Everywhere you look, all the green has turned yellow and brown, and all the grass is dead and scorched. It's very upsetting. But you asked me to teach you some vocabulary on hot weather. I won't do it now just because it's a very long session, but there are some videos where I teach hot phrases. So if you search hot phrases, you'll have some there. Okay. Nural, you asked, are there any language experts I admire? I recently did an interview with Steve Kaufman, who's a polyglot. I don't know if you saw that, but he has been working on 20 languages, and I thought that was just amazing. So if you haven't seen that interview, I've left a link in the description of the YouTube video, so you should go and check it out. But other than that, I'm actually mostly inspired, and I mostly admire you guys, my students, particularly the ones that I've had, on my radar for a couple of years now. Some of you I consider to be, my friends. You have shown me the dedication that you've had to learning English and other languages. And I just think it's amazing to see my students progress, to see the times when they struggle and they still manage to pick themselves up. That, I think, is amazing. And so I'm a big fan of you. Okay. How long does it take to learn a new language? What a question. How long does it take to learn a new language? Well, it depends on a number of factors. First of all, it really depends on where you think the end point of learning is, because truly, we never stop learning a language. I'm still learning English. There are new words that I come across on a regular basis. There are new rules that I discover. Not regularly, but occasionally I go, oh, I didn't know that. And I think anyone who thinks they know everything is deluded, because language is constantly changing. It's very flexible. There are many varieties of English as well. So nobody knows everything. Everyone's constantly learning. So there isn't a definitive answer as to how long it takes to learn a new language. If you mean how long does it take to become, relatively fluent, then again, you have to ask yourself, what is fluency? To me, fluency is being able to easily and confidently speak in the environments that I would usually be in, to speak how I want to speak, to use the words I want to use, and not to have to gesture and navigate my way through a lack of vocabulary. So just to feel easy in my common situations, that to me is fluency. How long does it take to become fluent then, under my definition? Then it depends on where you are at in terms of, are we talking about from scratch? Or are we talking about from where most of you guys are, which is intermediate upwards? Okay, so in that case, it then depends on how many languages you learned before and how well oiled your learning muscles are. How much time you, and what resources are you going to use to learn? Let's say you have an hour a day to give to learning. It might be that some of that time is like I do, listening while you're traveling, a little bit of social media on your breaks, talking in English, sharing some Telegram voice messages. But if you can dedicate an hour a day, you're at a generally intermediate level already. You've been learning English for a while, so you know the basics. You can do an hour a day for a prolonged period. Then you're looking at needing, I'm going to say the word 500 hours. If you can do an hour a day, then you can be fluent in a year. If you're coming from being intermediate, you're dedicated, you've got the right resource, you can be fluent in a year. And maybe this is a good time for me to let you know that I do actually have a fluency program that gives you all those resources, really great resources that have already seen so many of my students pass English teaching exams, English upper intermediate exams. I had a student who this weekend told me they got full marks in their English speaking and that they were absolutely shocked that they got that result because they'd previously not been very confident. But since being with us on our fluency program, they've now achieved better than what they could have expected. So there are lots of factors into how long something takes you. But if you have got the right mindset, you're dedicated, you're motivated, you have the time to dedicate to it, and you're using the right resource, then you can do a lot in a year. Okay, I'm going to move on. Next question. By the way, all the things I'm mentioning in terms of courses that I offer and my community, if you are interested, I have put links in the description, but otherwise you can see this scrolling along the bottom. That's the website to head to if you're interested in joining us. We only take very motivated and lovely students. So if you're motivated and you're lovely, then you're more than welcome to come along. Okay, Carl Yip asks, is there any possibility for viewers to open a WhatsApp group or a community group to share their experience of learning English and practice English in our daily life? So if a viewer wanted to do that, then, that's something that you guys have to sort out. But I, in the past, opened a WhatsApp group and it was a nightmare. There were so many people and it was so crazy, and everyone had access to everyone's phone numbers, and it just didn't work. And then I had people phoning me at all hours of the day and night, and it was just a disaster. Some people don't understand about respecting boundaries. So I closed the WhatsApp group. I now have a Telegram group where I can protect everybody's phone numbers, so no one's personal data is, out there. But the Telegram group is reserved only for my most dedicated students and the ones who are on the courses and in the club. But it is great. It is, if you can join an English Telegram group, it really is a fantastic way to kind of dip into your English on a daily basis. Telegram, you've got voice notes that you can use. You can do polls. You can share all sorts of resources. It's brilliant. Okay, a couple of people have actually asked me for suggestions on books. So besides the books that I've already suggested, Atomic Habits and Lifespan, which are more kind of lifestyle books, if you're wanting to read just to improve your English level and you're at an intermediate level, I mean, it depends on your style. I really think reading is a personal thing. It's like, recommend some music. Well, what kind of music do you like? Because there's so much to choose from and you might hate what I like. But if you're into like detective stuff, Agatha Christie books, Stephen King, if you like things a bit sci-fi, a bit scary, Stephen King books, Danielle Steele books, if you like love stories, 50 Shades of Grey, if you like things really raunchy, it's a good book. The things we tend to study at school, in high school, are Pride and Prejudice, Of Mice and Men. That's a great story. Of Mice and Men. Moby Dick. To Kill a Mockingbird. popular books, Harry Potter, or there's loads of Harry Potter books, and they're also filmed, so you can kind of enjoy watching them after you've read the book. The Talented Mr. Ripley, that's also a great film as well. So I always think these are useful if you've got a film to fall back on. The Green Mile makes a good book and an amazing film. And The Lord of the Flies is also a good book. So there are some recommendations for me. I will pop them in the chat for you to all see now quickly. Oh, it's come up as one big thing. I had it as a list. But yeah, Agatha Christie books, Stephen King books, Danielle Steele books, 50 Shades of Grey, Pride and Prejudice, Of Mice and Men, Moby Dick, To Kill a Mockingbird, Harry Potter, The Talented Mr. Ripley, The Green Mile, and Lord of the Flies. Okay. Someone, Jovid, you asked about IELTS writing and reading tasks. Could I give you some information? It's a very broad question. A very, very broad question. There's a YouTuber called Keith who is a fantastic IELTS teacher. So if IELTS is one of your goals, I'd highly recommend you check out his YouTube channel if you want very specific IELTS information. I can't remember exactly what his channel's called, but if you just write in English Keith or Speak English with Keith and check out his channel, he's brilliant. Lovely man. Okay, I've got a message here. Let me share. Someone asked about engineering vocabulary. It's very specific. It's something I might do a video on, but it's not something for this lesson. It's just too specific. But I appreciate you asking the question. But Samira, you said British accents. British accent as that. Oh, hang on. I'm so sorry. I cut the message off. I want to modify my accent is what you asked. Let me put this in properly. Goodness me. Said, I want to modify my accent. I'm being realistic and I'm not aiming for a perfect British accent as that sounds too far-fetched. Just a more refined accent would be great. It's a request that I get all the time. What you need is a strong model. So you need to find a model to be your resource. So choose someone with the accent you're after. Obviously, there are many British accents. If you're talking about kind of the standard that's written in all the dictionaries, the RP, then, there are many of us on YouTube that have lots of resource for you to follow and shadow. But if you really want to make gains, then having something like an assessment, something like what I offer, will help you to focus on exactly what it is that you need to work on to refine your accent. I have got a link in the description of my main YouTube video. So otherwise, just go to Englishlikeanative.co.uk and look at the pronunciation course. And that comes with an assessment. Hassan, Keith, who teaches IELTS, is English Speaking Academy. That's the name of his channel. Thank you for that. Oh, or maybe it's English Speaking Success. I don't know which one. But yeah, they both look familiar to me. Manilal asked me to please provide the exact pronunciation of the IPA using the letters of the English alphabet. Well, I have a number of videos that will help you, and on the main YouTube video, I've linked all of them. So the first one is the alphabet video, in which I give you all the phonetic transcriptions of all the letters in the alphabet. So that will help. And then I've got several videos on the IPA, and I've got a fantastic method on learning and remembering the IPA to use in English, as well as a workbook as well, which helps with your pronunciation. So those videos are linked below. Otherwise, just on my channel video page, just search IPA and you'll find them. Okay, guys, goodness me, I'm exhausted. Right, now is your time, because I've come to the end of my list. Now is your time to ask me your questions. So I did have some from Instagram that I'm going to quickly have a look at. Pop your questions into the chat right now. I'm not going to scroll back. It's too many questions, but I'm going to bring up some here. Okay, so someone asked me about my life. Where's your husband? Where's my husband? Oh, there's a hand there waving. I don't know what the hand waving is because he's not my husband. We aren't married, which I know is a shock. We're living in sin. We live together. We have children. Terrible. In the UK, getting married is not required of couples. And it's becoming less and less common for people to get married because getting married is very expensive. If we do get married, we'd probably like to do it properly and do it nicely. But it costs too much money. We can't afford it. It's either buy a house and look after your kids or have a wedding and be poor for years and years and years. So in every aspect, we are married, except for the fact that we're not married. Okay, we are life partners. We have no intention of behaving in any other way other than as if we were married. So he is here working at the other desk. What other questions was I asked? How can we get native or fluent in speaking? Practice. Always, that's the question, and that's the answer. Lots of big thank yous. If you had a chance to play a role in any movie, oh, I didn't see this one. Which one would you choose? Whoa, that's a big question. I don't know the answer to that one. Do you know, when I was younger, I always really wanted to play the Kate Winslet role in Titanic. At that point, I was obsessed with being an actress and being in films, and I loved Kate Winslet's role in Titanic. I just thought, you know, all the costumes and it was brilliant. So I'm going to say that one. Okay, so let me see. Let me pick one from here. Ahmed, chill out. You're saying, why don't you answer my question? I don't think you can't see my screen, but here I'm streaming at the moment to 3 different places. I am streaming to my main YouTube channel, English Like a Native, my Shorts English channel, English Like a Native Shorts, and my Facebook page. And that covers over 1 million people. There's not 1 million people watching, but there's a lot of people watching. And so I have lots of comments all coming through into one place. So if I haven't responded to your comment, it's because I can't see it, or because in some cases it's maybe not providing as much value as other questions. So you did ask, what are the best tips to teach non-native children the English language? Teach non-native children in the way native children would learn language. In fact, I've even considered trying to teach my children other languages simply by giving them the input that they get in English. They're still learning the language now. So get them watching cartoons. Maybe it depends how old they are. If they're young, just age appropriate cartoons. That is how they'll learn language. Books. And you'll learn at the same time. If it's very simple stuff, you'll learn at the same time. So age appropriate books, age appropriate cartoons, films. You know, there are YouTube, like there's YouTube Kids, where you can put subtitles on as well as having it in the target language. But yeah, and then if you can, find them a good teacher if you want to take it further, but make sure they're having fun. If I've taught children for years, if children are not enjoying it, it will be a waste of time. So really make sure they're enjoying it. Don't be too hard on them. Okay, madam, what are you drinking? Peppermint tea. I've got peppermint tea in my owl cup. Okay, let's see. Mum, do you ever wish to become a doctor or something else? You'd say something else other than an English teacher. um, in the past, when I was younger, I went through 3 phases. I wanted to be a writer, and then I thought I couldn't write anything interesting enough for people to want to read. All my stories were about like hobbits and dolphins and castles and things. And then I wanted to be a lawyer, but I think that was more because I wanted to do something good, but I also liked the drama of the courtroom. And then I wanted to be a doctor. For a long time, I wanted to be a doctor. All the way through to college, I wanted to be a doctor, but I had a very bad schooling and a bit of a unsettled childhood. So I didn't have the opportunity to educate myself very well in the first place. So I was faced with having to go back and redo a lot of my basic exams. And I didn't want to spend years doing that. I was young, I was full of energy. The thought of going back to school after I just got out of school, I was like, no way, no way. And so I decided to become an actress instead. And then after that, a teacher. And I think I've always been very naturally pulled towards teaching and helping people. So, okay. Good boy. You say, when I hear your speech, I understand everything clearly. But when I hear the speech of other native British speakers, I only understand 70% of their speech. So the UK has nearly 40 different accents, varieties of English. Yeah, different pronunciation, different dialect will be found all across the UK, as well as lots of non-native accents as well. And, you know, it depends on the person, but some people are not very articulate. I started teaching pronunciation to native speakers. That's how I began coaching in pronunciation. And, you know, lots of native speakers do need help to articulate. So that's why for you as learners, it's really important that you have a good, clear model to learn how to speak, to get to grips with the language, but don't just listen to that one model. Make sure you're exposing yourself to lots of different accents, different dialects. You know, watch lots of different programs. There's so many things available now with different accents. Yeah, just go nuts. Go nuts. Listen to everything. Expose yourself. It's only through exposure that you start to pick it up. I would prefer to buy a house rather than finance my wedding. Back on that one. Yeah. Let me see. I'm so sorry I can't answer all these questions. Well, let me see if I can grab one. Is the song Solidarity Forever popular in the UK? I don't know. I'm not in the habit of listening to the radio, so I couldn't tell you at the moment what song is popular. I used to do a lot of commuting, but since the pandemic, I rarely go out, and so I rarely listen to the radio. Yeah. The plant, tree, or animal. I think you're asking what would you like to be when you're reincarnated, if you're reincarnated. I would like to be an animal because I might get eaten if I'm a plant or mistreated. I might get climbed on and scratched and scraped and destroyed as a tree, but as an animal, I can run away. Okay. Oh, hello. Hi, watching from the Dominican Republic. Fantastic. I've been following you since last week. I saw you on Vanessa's channel. That was amazing. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you for being here. Yeah, I really enjoyed making that video with Vanessa. She's so lovely, isn't she? She's just all smiles literally every time I watch Vanessa, I can't help but smile, just like beaming. She's just so nice. And she really is exactly like that in real life. Lovely. Dr. Cardio, you want to be a cardiac surgeon. Wish me luck. Good luck. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. You're going to save so many people's lives. What do you think is the hardest to understand accent, sorry, is the hardest to understand in the UK? For me, it's Scouse. It depends on the speaker. The Beatles are Scousers. I find their accent nice and easy to understand. But there are some Scousers whose accent is so broad, so thick, that it's hard to understand. Some Scots are hard to understand, Scottish. Yeah, it really depends. Every accent can be difficult if the speaker is, got a really thick accent. And by thick, I don't mean stupid. I mean dense, heavy. Hassan, yeah, your video with Vanessa was amazing. Would you like to have one with Keith? Yes, and I did email Keith at one point asking to do a video, but I didn't get a response. I think if they're anything like me, we all get inundated with messages and direct messages on all the social platforms and comments and emails. I have 2 email boxes and they are both just chocker with people emailing. And so it's very easy to lose important emails or emails you would otherwise respond to. So I don't hold it against him. He hasn't responded, but he may not have seen my message. I've spoken to him a few times and he's been lovely. So I'm sure next time I get to speak to him, I could just say, Keith, do you want to do a video together? It'd be lovely. But yes, I would love to. All right, I'm going to just pick a couple more questions and then I'm going to wrap this up. How are you? I'm good, thank you. A bit tired now. Great to participate in this online class, but what kind of animal do you want to be? The first thing that springs to mind is an otter. I love otters. I think they have the best of both worlds. They're excellent swimmers. They're very fast on land. They are little acrobats. I love them. So I'd be an otter as long as I was somewhere in the wild, safe from mankind. Nishanta, I'm sorry, I don't think I got to answer any of your comments. Nishanta's been a student with me for a long time. You said it's past 10 o'clock, so good night to you. Thank you for joining me today. What are your favorite sounds in the English language, like schwa? Like schwa. My mouth isn't working now. My favorite sounds of the very British sounds, particularly, are the or sound. I quite like teaching that one. Or. It's present in words like more, for, sure. I like it just because you have to really pull your mouth. Or. But then again, I don't like it when if students find sounds difficult, then it gives me a negative opinion of those sounds. But most of the time when I'm working with students, that sound can be achieved. So I would say or is one of my favorite sounds. Okay, that's a funny question. Let me see. Oh, a question about politics. Please, I've heard that the Labour Party is stronger and stronger in the UK. Is that true? There's been a lot. There's been it's been a bit of a mess in the government recently. Obviously, we now are waiting to decide our new leader. Boris resigned, and I think many people are happy about that. And people around the world were confused why we would be happy that Boris is stepping down. And it's not because of anything other than he lied a lot. And I think if you have a leader who lies to his own government, it doesn't really sit well with a democracy. It doesn't bode well. So I think potentially because of his behavior and there's been a lot of scandals. I think that has damaged the Conservative Party a lot. I don't know if Labour have, maybe they've been gaining in popularity. I am neither a Labour supporter nor a Conservative supporter. People don't tend to talk about their own politics, but I'm a Lib Dem, or I have in the past. So I don't know who I will vote for this time around. It's I will have to consider the candidates and their messages, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I saw, Laura. Hi, Laura. One of my lovely students. Laura says, can you whistle? Not very well, but yes, I can a little bit. Can you whistle? Okay, very last question. Is it illegal to eat Sunday roast on Saturday? No, you can eat Sunday roast every day of the week if you so please. We might not call it a Sunday roast, we just call it a roast if we're having it on another day. But no, roast dinners, I think the reason we have them on a Sunday is because they take a lot of work and effort. It's a lot of preparation of the vegetables, of the if you're having meat, of the bird, of the main meat. It's a lot of preparation, it's a lot of time cooking, and it's a huge washing up job. So there's lots to clear up afterwards. And so we tend to do it on a Sunday because that's usually when everyone's off and families can get together and all pitch in. To pitch in means to all help. If you did it during the week when you got home from work, you'd end up eating quite late because of the preparation time. And then you'd have all this washing up to do at bedtime. It would just be a bit of a nightmare. So people do eat roast dinners all the time. There's so many interesting questions coming in. I said I'd finish, but if God exists, what would you like him to tell you after your departure? I'd like him to tell me why he didn't help to solve some of the world's problems, or yeah, I'm not religious, but if God did exist, I'd want to know why, generally. Dimitri, what do people think about Russians? So I'm guessing you mean English people. So obviously it's a very sensitive subject. Western media generally is on Ukrainian side. So I know that wherever you are in the world, the news will have a biased point of view. So I'm sure that in Russia, the news is biased towards Russia. And in the West, I know that the news is biased towards Ukraine. And so it's difficult. People don't agree with what is happening in Ukraine. And whether that transpires into a dislike for Russians, I don't know. That would be on an individual basis. I have a lot of experience of Russians. I have many students who are Russian. I know that on an individual basis, you can't judge an individual by the country that they come from. You can only judge an individual by their actions. I wouldn't want to be judged by the actions of my leader, by Boris Johnson, or a decision that my leaders take. I would want to be judged on me, my beliefs, and my actions. And so I personally try never to judge anyone. I don't have an overarching feeling about any particular types of people. I just judge every person for themselves and for their actions and the way they behave. So I don't know if that answers your question. To be honest, I don't spend much time outside of my home or outside of my close-knit circle. And all of my friends are very open-minded, very balanced individuals, and they all feel the same as me. They judge individuals on an individual basis. Do we disagree with war? Absolutely. Do we do we agree with people getting blown up? No, absolutely not. Do we judge a whole group of people based on it? No, I don't think we do. Honestly, I'm scared. I'm scared about the future. What is going to come next? It feels like everything is going wrong and the world is imploding. And I'm genuinely nervous for my children, for the children of the world, about what we're creating for them. And on that very negative note, let's find something more positive to talk about. Are the kids not old enough to wash up yet? No, unfortunately. My sons would love to spend hours in the washing up bowl trying to wash up, but I let them play, but I don't let them do any genuine washing up because they might break things or hurt themselves. Which British stereotype do you like the most? I like the idea that people think we're all very polite. I don't know if it's true or not. We do use please and thank yous a lot more than probably other people do. But whether that makes us more polite or not, I don't know. I find it interesting that people think we have terrible teeth. That's all I'm going to say about that. I always think it's interesting to find out where these ideas come from. All right, last question. Is it difficult to marry a British girl? Interesting. If the British girl loves a guy, then no, it's not difficult. In the UK, we believe in marrying for love. So it's very different in other cultures. So if you can get someone to love you and you can, you align on your values in life, then it's very easy to get someone to marry you. But I'm not married. I couldn't find anyone to marry me. No, that's not true. Let's not go down that road. Yes, if you can make someone love you and your paths align, then marriage is on the cards. Why are you scared about the future? Please tell us more. I think war is a very scary thing. War between big, powerful nations, very scary. Because the people who pay the price aren't the leaders. It's you and me. It's the normal people who are just trying to get on with their lives. And our leaders create a situation that means nothing is safe. We're not safe. And that's a very scary thing. Okay. Last one. Very last one. What's your favorite sport? How often do you work out? I love squash. I do that once a week. If I had the opportunity, I'd do it 3 times a week. I love gymnastics in terms of doing. I don't do it at the moment because I'm not fit enough, but I go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and I try and work out a bit at home too. Favorite sports to watch? I like watching the gymnastics. I like watching athletics when it's the like big international events. I like watching the World Cup, but other than that, I don't watch football. I just don't have time. I'd rather do sports and participate than watch. And I used to love every sport, but you can't do everything. You can't do everything. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I highly encourage you to come and check out Englishlikeanative.co.uk for those of you who've expressed an interest in improving your fluency. We have a huge fluency program which might not be for everyone. It does require motivation, and it does require time. But other than that, we have an excellent conversation club, which is very affordable. We have 4 lessons a week where you can actually physically speak, practice your speaking. It's run by native teachers, and you get lots of vocabulary resources provided. You get access to the Telegram group. You get access to my live streams every week. You get access to a Zoom call with me every month. It's a brilliant resource for those of you who want to improve your speaking fluency. We also have lots of courses available too for B1, B2, C1, C2, business English, and pronunciation. And the pronunciation course is an amazing resource that also includes a personal assessment from me to give you very clear guidance on what you need to do. All you need to do is look at the links below or use the one that's floating across the screen here. We'd love to help you. Okay, thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure. And for all those generous donations that came in from High English, thank you again for your support. Take care, everyone. It's been a pleasure.